Okay, what's up guys? Today we'll be reacting to what happened to the fastest 100-meter sprinters in history by Run It Back. So let's go, let's enjoy this movie. This channel has really good videos.
From failed soccer careers to getting caught cheating, these are the 5 fastest 100-meter sprinters in history and what happened to them. Starting with the man who may have been the most consistent sprinter the world has ever seen, yet the least rewarded when it mattered most.
Yeah, Asafa Powell, he was one of the most consistent, and he never won Olympic gold medal individual. So
Asafa Powell was the original 100-meter Jamaican superstar of the 2000s. A sprinter so gifted, so smooth, that on his best days, people in the sport called his execution perfect. He stood out instantly, 6 feet 3, powerful, effortless, and ridiculously fast. But Powell's career became one of the strangest paradoxes track has ever seen. Because he could run world records, he could dominate the best in the world, he could replicate elite races over and over, just not on the most important days of his career.
yeah, that's what I was saying. He's running so fast, and then when it is the most important race, he usually like chokes, and that's so sad because he deserves, you know, a big medal, Olympic medal.
Curse showed up early. At only 20 years old, Powell arrived at his first real champion.
Why? I don't want to offend him, but why do they have so wide noses? It's the double size of my nose.
In 2003 was a relative unknown, not even ranked near the very top. Then in the heats, he detonated. He ran a personal best and suddenly had the fastest qualifying time among a field of veterans.
At 21.
You could feel the hope building, and then false start. Back then, one false start was allowed for the entire field, but if anyone jumped again, they were out. Powell's championship day.
They need to bring the one false start rule back, because I don't know. I think it's just better, you know.
Yeah. Ended before it even began. And to make it worse, he had to watch from the sideline knowing his heat time.
He false started twice.
Have been good enough to compete deep into that meet. It was the first taste of a theme that would haunt him for years, the fastest version of Asafa Powell showing up at the wrong moment. Then came 2004, and this is where Powell went from talented to terrifying. He cracked his first sub-10, then started stacking them. He lined up in Crystal Palace against the established kings, 2000 Olympic champion Maurice Greene, and 2003 world champion Kim Collins. And Powell didn't blink. He won in 9.91, then backed it up again a week later in Zurich. Suddenly, Jamaica didn't just have a contender, they had a future champion. At the Athens Olympics, Powell ran the round smart, saved energy, and headed into the final looking like a medal threat.
I don't even know how he ended up in these Olympics. I've never like heard of him. But okay, let's see how he ended up.
But in the final, it happened again. He tightened up, the rhythm wasn't there, he finished 5th. And that's what made Powell's story so frustrating. The times were always there. 2 weeks after Athens, he ran 9.87. The ability was never the question. In 2005, he proved it by taking the world record, 9.77. Before Bolt's rise, that was the ceiling of human speed. And Powell wasn't just
9.77 was the world record over 20 years ago. And like since that, there has been like very few guys who even ran 9.77. Fred Curley, and I don't know what time Oblique Civil run, Keishan Thompson, and that's basically it. That's it. Not many guys have run, you know, these times since.
Fast once, he was fast almost all the time. A total of 97 sub-10s, fittingly earning the nickname the Sub-10 King, a Guinness World Record. Powell didn't chase perfect races, he mass-produced them. But championships demand something else, calm under pressure. And in 2007 at Worlds, when it felt like the year was his to finally own the big stage, Tyson Gay ran the race of his life and Powell fell to bronze. Later, Powell admitted that when the pressure came, he panicked. And the most brutal part, less than 2 weeks after that,
I mean, at least he was on the podium. Like, I mean, I still think, you know, of course he was disappointed, but at least he got a bronze. It's better than nothing.
disappointment, with the pressure gone, Powell set a new world record in the 100-meter sprint heat with a time of 9.74 seconds at the IAAF Grand Prix in Rieti, Italy, lowering his previous record. It was as if the universe was playing a joke. See, this is what you are when it doesn't matter. From 2008 onward, it got even harder because sprinting's gravity shifted. Usain Bolt arrived, and once Bolt stepped down into the 100 and started rewriting reality, Powell's window for that individual global 100-meter title got smaller and smaller. He still had huge races. He even beat Bolt once in Stockholm, but the pattern stayed consistent. When the lights were brightest, Powell barely looked like himself. By 2012, it reached the most painful image of all. Powell pulling up injured in the Olympic 100-meter final. Then in 2013, an 18-month doping suspension stalled his career further. Powell called the ruling unfair and unjust and said a legal supplement he took, Epiphany D1, was contaminated. He returned, stayed involved, stayed respected, but the dream ending never came. He did win Olympic gold in the 4x100 meters in 2016. A beautiful moment, even if that relay era also carried controversy and heartbreak for Jamaica. Ultimately, Powell quietly exited the track without the individual world title he chased. He became the sport's ultimate what if, the fastest.
You know, I think this is one of the saddest stories, like, of a sprinter, because it's just sad. You know, he was world record holder, he was the best in the world, and he's, you know, ending his career without like Olympic medal, without any major championship like medal, individual, like big medal. I don't know which place, like the best place he got. I don't know if he got even silver. I'm not sure, but you know, I know he's got some bronze, but I don't know if he's got even silver. It's just sad, man.
This man who couldn't translate speed into individual global titles, but he also became something else, a pioneer. The first modern Jamaican sprint superstar to build that dominance from home soil, laying the runway for the generation that followed. He last competed in 2021 and officially retired in 2022, celebrating his 40th birthday by hanging up his spikes for good. Powell's run of world records and fast times set the bar
He was running still at 40. Damn.
for sprinters, but he often fell short when it mattered most. Around the same time, an American rival emerged who had no trouble winning big races, though his story would take its own twists.
Tyson Gay. Let's go.
Tyson Gay was the American counterpunch to the sprint era that was starting to tilt toward.
Bro, I'm so sorry for Tyson Gay because of his last name. Last name. And every time I do like a short about him, there are plenty of people who are like, gay. He said gay. And like, yeah, I think it's funny if you heard it for the first time, but then you got like, it doesn't mean anything for me. It's just a name. Bro, it's not funny at this point. But I get it, you know.
Or Jamaica. Not just fast, violent fast. The kind of top-end speed that made the last 40 meters look like someone pressed fast forward. And the first time he would really understand what he could become was 2007. That year, Gay didn't just win, he emptied the stadium. At the World Championships in Osaka, he pulled off the sprint treble. Gold in the 100, gold in the 200, and gold in the 4x100.
Oh, bronze.
Something only a handful of men in history had ever done on that stage. That's the kind of run that usually launches you into face of the sport territory. But the Tyson Gay story is weird because even at his highest point, the timing of his career felt cursed. In 2008, Gay arrived at the US Olympic trials with huge expectations, but he picked up a hamstring injury. And if you ever watched an injured elite sprinter, you know the tragedy.
That's why he wasn't in the 2008 Olympics. You know, every time I watched the final, 2008, I'm like, where's Tyson Gay? Why he isn't there? So now I know he was injured, bro.
Still run fast enough to look fine to casual fans, but they're not themselves. The sharpness is gone, the fearless gear shift disappears. By the time Beijing arrived, that hamstring had taken away his edge as he finished 5th in the semifinals. The Olympics that were supposed to launch the Bolt versus Gay rivalry didn't give us the showdown people wanted. It gave us a what if. And then 2009 happened. Gay produced the most proof season of his life. At the World Championships 100-meter final in Berlin, he ran 9.71, an American record, and still had to settle for silver. Because
Bro, this is one of the most insane things. He ran 9.71. 9.71. Incredible time. I think, yeah, it would have been, or no, it wouldn't have been world record. But 9.71, and you are second, and you still lose. What the fuck, bro? This in what universe you run 9.71 and place second? That's just incredible. You know, basically, if Bolt is there, you are racing for second place.
Usain Bolt detonated the world record like you should detonate the subscribe button by setting a shocking 9.58. Imagine running the fastest time your country has ever produced and watching the clock tell you it didn't matter. And if that wasn't painful enough, Gay doubled down weeks later at the Shanghai Golden Grand Prix, running an astonishing 9.69, the American record again, and a time so fast it tied with what it recently had been Bolt's world record mark, marking Gay the second fastest man ever. By 2012, London felt like Tyson's Gay's last clean opportunity to finally leave the Olympics with something individual. But nothing about that final was going to be easy.
Bro, one thing about Gay, you can see it in this picture. He always run like with so much tension. Like he's not relaxed. And you know, I'm not some pro, sprinter, but it's like I don't think you should run like that. I mean, yeah, he's fast as fuck, but I don't know, it just seems so unnatural for me, and it's like weird. But yeah, he's running fast, so I guess it really doesn't matter. But he's always so tense, and I'm just watching the video, and I'm like, bro, just relax.
The 100-meter final in London wasn't just competitive, it was historically stacked. 5 of the fastest men the event had ever seen were on the same track. Jamaica had multiple threats. Justin Gatlin was back in the mix, and Bolt, still in his prime, loomed over everything. Gay made the Olympic final and produced a 9.8-second performance, a world-class time in any era. On most Olympic nights, that run puts a medal around your neck. In London, it left him 4th. That's how brutal the era was. Still,
4th for 980. Goddamn.
Wasted games. Gay later helped the United States secure silver in the 4x100-meter relay. Finally, at least on paper, an Olympic medal to attach to his resume. After years of injuries, near misses, and bad timing, it looked like his Olympic chapter had at least found some closure. But sprinting wasn't done rewriting Tyson Gay's story, because a year later everything from that season would come back into question, and that's where the narrative turns dark.
Yeah, I think
in 2013, Tyson Gay tested positive for a banned substance.
Okay.
And regardless of how people argue the details, one thing is always true with doping on track. It rewrites perception. It doesn't just pause a career, it stains everything before it, and it changes how everything after it is received. After the suspension, the flashes were still there. He could still make finals, still run times that proved he belonged. But the terrifying version of Gay, the one from 2007 to 2010, didn't truly return, and sprinting had moved on. And away from the track, life hit him with something bigger than sport. Gay has spoken publicly about personal tragedy, including the loss of his daughter, and has since been involved in community and anti-violence efforts afterward. A reminder that for all the drama we attach to medals and times, athletes are still human beings living real lives in the background.
Bro, I found out this not so early ago. I didn't know about this until like a month ago or 2 months ago. And when I read this, my heart just shattered. Like, imagine losing your daughter. That's so bad. And I cannot even, explain how that feels. And he still chose to run, I guess, one more season. And it must have been so hard.
Gay officially retired from competitive track and field in 2021. He's now focused on coaching athletes through his
2021? That's late.
online platform, The Ultimate Athlete, offering speed and performance training. Tyson Gay became one of the most gifted sprinters the United States has ever produced. A world champion who ran the American record, who pushed the Bolt era harder than almost anyone, and who still leaves you wondering what his legacy would look like if his career had been cleanly uninterrupted. No sprinter in this era had their career interrupted and restarted more than the next man. Another
You're making him look like a devil.
American who endured bigger setbacks, chased redemption, and somehow extended his career into a second act that made him both a champion and a lightning rod for controversy. Justin Gatlin's story is one of stunning comebacks and a reputation that never stopped following him. But before the booze and the labels, he was sprinting's next certainty. Gatlin was actually ahead of his American teammate Tyson Gay in the early years. He won the 100-meter gold medal at the 2004 Athens Olympics as a relatively unknown 22-year-old, and followed that up with double world champion titles in 2005, taking gold in both the 100 and 200 meter, establishing himself as the world's top sprinter. In 2006, Gatlin even tied Asafa Powell's then world record of 9.77 seconds. It seemed a new sprint king was
I didn't know this, bro.
cementing his throne, but then everything collapsed. Later that same year, Gatlin tested positive for testosterone and was handed a 4-year ban. His times were erased, his reputation shattered, his career frozen at its peak. For many, that was the end. Another sprinter lost to the era's shadows. Yet Justin Gatlin staged an extraordinary comeback. After serving his suspension, he returned to competition in 2010, determined to prove himself. It wasn't easy. He had to rebuild his speed in a new era now dominated by Bolt. Gatlin ran small meets, struggled to break 10 seconds, and battled injuries that made his comeback feel almost delusional. By 2011, frostbite from a cryotherapy accident damaged his feet. And at the World Championship that year, he failed to make the 100-meter final. To most observers, the verdict was clear. The old Gatlin was gone. 2012 changed that narrative, but only slightly. Gatlin steadily improved, and by the London Olympics, he clawed his way to a bronze medal in the 100-meter final behind Usain Bolt and Johan Blake. What followed was the most dangerous phase of Justin Gatlin's career. In 2014, though no major championships, Gatlin posted 7 of the 10 fastest times in the world and owned the 2 fastest 200-meter marks as well. Quietly, methodically, Justin Gatlin became the fastest man on earth again. Far from fading with age, Gatlin actually seemed to get faster in his 30s. He clocked a personal best of 9.74 seconds in 2015 at age 33.
Bro, 2015 was Gatlin's year. He could have won, well, he won everything except one title. And he was running so fast.
Making him the 5th fastest man ever and the fastest man over 30. He consistently challenged Bolt at World Championships, taking silver medals in 2013 and 2015 in thrilling duels, as well as the 2016 Olympics. Gatlin was often cast as the villain of the sport. Crowds booed him due to his doping past, especially when he lined up against the beloved Bolt. But Gatlin kept his focus on the track. In 2017, at a shocking World Championship final in London, the 35-year-old finally beat Usain Bolt and won the 100-meter world title, 12 years after his first world title. In doing so, he became the oldest male sprint world champion ever, cementing a legacy unlike any other.
I think Justin deserved it more than any other, the title, because he was chasing Bolt so many years and he finally did it in 2017. So, he deserves it a lot, and I'm so
After
happy
that late career
for him.
breakthrough, Gatlin pushed on well into his late 30s. He remained competitive through 2019, helping his country win a silver medal in the 4x100 meter relay at the World Championship in Doha, and even chased one final Olympic berth in 2021. He narrowly missed out, and an injury at the U.S. trial signaled that Father Time had finally caught up. Gatlin announced his retirement in 2022 on his 40th birthday. He is now focused on sports technology, working with The Zone to promote athlete mental wellness as a strategic advisor, and also serves as a mental performance coach, helping young athletes with focus, confidence, and handling high-pressure situations. Gatlin leaves behind a legacy defined by longevity and resilience rarely seen in the 100 meters, even if it will always exist alongside uncomfortable questions. Love him or hate him, Justin Gatlin proved one thing beyond dispute. You can fall from the very top and still fight your way back there. But even at his fastest, even at his peak, Gatlin ran into a ceiling no one could break, because standing in front of him and everyone else was the greatest sprinter the sport had ever known.
Final boss.
You can't talk about the fastest humans in history without the name Usain Bolt. The towering Jamaican doesn't just dominate sprinting, he rewrote it. At the Beijing, London, and Rio Olympics, Usain Bolt achieved an unprecedented run of dominance, becoming the only man to win Olympic 100-meter and 200-meter gold at 3 consecutive games. Across his career, he amassed 8 Olympic gold medals and 11 World Championship titles, a level of sustained excellence sprinting had never seen before. And then there were the times. In 2009, Bolt set the world record that still defined the event, 9.58 seconds in the 100 meters and 19.19 in the 200.
Crazy.
Performances so far ahead of the field that, for more than a decade later, they remain untouched. What made Usain Bolt truly unique wasn't just how fast he ran, it was how long he stayed on top. Even after his fastest years had passed, even as injuries crept in and rivals pushed harder than ever, Bolt kept winning when it mattered most. Olympic finals, World Championship finals, the biggest stages in the sport. But every reign ends and Bolt chose his.
You know, that's the thing, you know, Usain Bolt, he did lose some races, you know, but these races weren't important. And what Usain Bolt, you know, did the best is he just performed where it mattered the most, you know. He lost multiple times, you know, in some meetings, but when it came to the big final, to the World Championship final or Olympic final, he was always there and he has always won. And that's, if you're not, I mean, I'm an athlete and I just want to tell, that's incredibly hard, you know, because it's just one day and you need to be the best at, you know, the one day, because you can be the best, you know, the whole year. You can be the best for 364 years, but then there comes 365th day. Bro, I cannot speak English, I'm sorry. And you can choke on the one day. So it's really hard to do this consistently. You know, you can do it one time when it's called One Hit Wonder, Marcel Jacobs, but you know, so one time it's easy, but to do it multiple times on bigger stages,
after Rio,
it's
he
impressive.
Made it clear that one final chapter remained. The plan was simple: finish where so much of his legend had grown, at the World Championships in London. But the 2017 season was heavier than any before it. Injuries lingered, training was lighter, and off the track, personal loss left him far from his physical peak. When the World Championships arrived, the signs were there. Bolt survived his heat, but in the 100-meter final, the familiar late surge never came. For the first time since his rise to dominance, Bolt was beaten on the sport's biggest stage, finishing third behind Christian Coleman and Justin Gatlin. Bolt skipped the 200.
Still third with basically zero training, where little training. It's just crazy.
100 meters, saving himself for one last run. But sprinting had one final twist left. In the 4x100 meter relay final, taking the baton for Jamaica's anchor leg, his hamstring gave way and he collapsed onto the track. Even in defeat, the Olympic legend received a hero's send-off. Bolt left competition as the world record holder and the most decorated male sprinter in history, truly having completed sprinting in the eyes of many fans. In retirement, ever the sportsman, Usain Bolt attempted a second career in professional football, joining Australian side Central Coast Mariners for a trial in 2018. The stint was short-lived, fun while it lasted, before Bolt shifted his focus to business ventures and family.
Nice
His
try.
phenomenal career set a standard that may never be matched. Right alongside him, though, was a younger compatriot once tipped to take over. A sprinter forced
Johan Blake, I mean, I love him so much. I don't know if you know, if there wasn't Usain Bolt, Johan Blake would be my favorite sprinter. I think he's even, even if there is Usain Bolt, he's still like my favorite. Maybe a little bit above Usain because that man, he was crazy.
to carve out his own path from an overwhelming shadow. Johan Blake was often seen as the next runner in line. Blake earned the nickname The Beast from his training partner, Bolt, for his aggressive sprinting style and intense work ethic. Early on, he looked every bit like a future superstar. In 2011, at just 21 years old, Johan Blake became the youngest 100-meter world champion in history.
Well, to be honest, he won because Usain Bolt false started. But, what if? So, Usain Bolt shouldn't have false started, so, of course, he deserved it. But just saying, it doesn't matter.
Gold at the World Championships in Daegu. And as that season unfolded, Blake did the unthinkable. Later that year at the Diamond League meeting in Brussels, he tore through the 200 meters in 19.26 seconds, the second fastest time ever recorded. Suddenly, Jamaica.
To this day, it fascinates me so much. 1926, bro, with that reaction time, his reaction time was like 0.25. Bro, my grandma could have started faster. Like, that's crazy. 1926 without the reaction time. Well, if he had a proper reaction time, he would have run 1916, I guess. So that's just still incredible to me, to this
It
day.
didn't just have a legend to celebrate, it had another sprint king to dream about. By the following year, that dream felt real. At the 2012 Jamaican Olympic trials, Blake stunned the world, defeating Usain Bolt in both the 100 and 200 meters. It was the clearest sign yet that he wasn't just emerging from a shadow. He was ready to challenge the throne itself. But championships have a way of demanding more. At the Olympic stage in London, Blake couldn't repeat the sweep, finishing with silver medals in both the 100 and 200 meters behind Bolt. Yet, even in defeat, his speed told a deeper story. Later that season, at a Diamond League meeting in Lausanne, Blake ran 9.69 seconds in the 100 meters, a personal best that tied Tyson Gay as the second fastest man.
Into a headwind, I mean, it's 0.1, but 9.69 into a headwind, I don't know what it converts to, like, if he had a perfect tailwind. Maybe, I don't know how it works. Maybe, I think it would be like 9.63 at least. Or 9.6. I don't know.
And in history. At that point, their trajectory felt obvious. Young, fearless, historically fast. Johan Blake looked like the man destined to carry Jamaican sprinting into the next era. However, what happened to Johan Blake is a reminder that talent alone doesn't guarantee a smooth career. Shortly after his Olympic successes, Blake's trajectory was derailed by a series of devastating injuries. He suffered multiple hamstring tears in 2013 and 2014. One tear was so severe it required surgery and sidelined him for the entire 2014 season. These injuries robbed Blake of the explosiveness that had made him the beast. He missed the chance to defend his world title in 2013 and struggled through occasional comebacks in the years that followed. While Blake did return to competition and even made the Jamaican Olympic teams in 2016 and 2021, he was never quite the same dominant force. He managed a 4x100 meter relay gold medal in 2012 and 2016, adding to his medal collection, but individual titles eluded him. In later years, Blake still showed flashes of his old speed, for instance running a 9.85 in 2022, his fastest time since 2012. Yet he was no longer able to force his way back into medal contention at the World Championships or Olympics again. By the time the Paris cycle arrived, Blake had openly suggested the 2024 Olympics could be his last dance. But his bid to reach Paris ended at the Jamaican trials, where he finished 5th and narrowly missed qualification. It was a quiet, telling moment, not a dramatic exit, but a sign that sprinting had finally moved on. Blake has not officially announced his retirement, but the dominance that once defined him is no longer there. His later years have become less about winning titles and more about persistence, continuing to train, race, and compete long after his peak had passed. He will be remembered as the second fastest man in history, a key figure in Jamaica's golden generation of sprinters. His beast persona and his explosive peak between 2011 and 2012 showed just how special he was, and ensured his name remains etched in sprinting history. But even as Johan Blake's moment passed, Usain Bolt remained at the top of the sport. And in the later years of Bolt's reign, the biggest challenge he faced didn't come from the next generation. It came from a rival with a far more complicated past. A sprinter followed closely by the media, surrounded by doping scandals.
Yeah, Johan Blake, that's such a sad story. He got injured in 2013, and then I think he got injured again, or I'm not sure. But he had so much potential, and he was on a rise. And it's just injuries, man. These injuries are so fucked up in sport.
Labeled sprinting's most controversial figure.
It's the end. So this is the end for this video. Running back, very high quality video. I liked it, I enjoyed it, and hope you guys did too. See you next time.